So, so let's proceed. As I said earlier, I'm just going to repeat. We are going to be modeling columns in Revit, and we are going to start, or we're going to use these details that we shared out earlier as a guide. All right. So if you look at these details, we have four column cross sections. We have the 200 by 500 as the first column, column one. Then we have column two, 300 by 500 millimeters, column three, 300 by 300, and column four, 400 by 400. All right, so those are the column cross sections that we're going to be using. And then if we scroll up, we have the beam and column layouts. So these will help us in, or these will guide us on where to place those particular columns. All right, so if you are to zoom in, and look at this layout, you're going to notice that you have columns denoted by column one, by C1, then we have C2, we have C3s and C4. So the C1 stands for column one, the C2 stands for column two, the C3 stands for column three, and then the C4 stands for column four. And they are all, this has been done through the entire PDF, the entire layout. So we are going to replicate this by modeling those columns in the areas where they have been modeled here. All right. So to do that, we are going to start in the Revit software, and we are going to be doing this in the top of foundation. Okay. So before we do that, I'd like you to notice something. On my right, we only have a few structural plans. All right. We only have the first floor and the ground floor. Okay. We do not have the other floor plans that we created, i.e., the second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor, roof level, and parapet. Okay, so as we start modeling, it's important for us to have all those structural plans showing in our project browser so that we can always open them by left clicking twice or even right clicking and then going to open. Okay, so how do you get to produce these floor plans? So that is going to be easy. What you need to do is scroll to the view tab. Okay, and then once you're in the view tab, I want you to scroll to the create panel and click on this drop down. All right. And then once you click on this drop down, our area of interest is in the structural plans. Okay. Our area of interest is in the structural plans. So we are going to left click on structural plan and then select the floors that you want to create the levels for. Okay, so for this one, for example, we are going to select all of them. So what we don't have is the fifth floor. We don't have the fourth floor. So you can click on one, then press Control to select multiple. So select the parapet floor, the roof level, second floor, and third floor. And then it's important to ensure that you have this checked here, do not duplicate views, so that you do not end up with duplicate structural plans. Okay, so after you do that, just click on OK. And after you do that, you're going to notice that you have all the structural plans here. Okay, so after you do that, you're going to notice that sometimes some grids may be missing in some of the structural plans. Okay, so probably if I go to the fifth floor, same issue here, you can see the vertical grids are missing. Okay, so if this happens to you, it means one thing, that the levels in one of the views does not extend through all the floor plans. Okay, the grids do not extend through all the levels. All right, so I think I'm using Sharon's drawing. So if you have such a detail where you find some grids are missing, just go to one of the elevation views, say north, and then look at how your grids have been placed, select one, and drag them to ensure they go beyond all levels. Okay, just select them and ensure they traverse all the levels. And then do the same for the levels. Select one and ensure it goes through all the grids. Okay, do it on this other side and you are good. Okay, then do it in another view. So you could work with east and north. And then here is good. So we can do here and here we can also extend it outwards. All right. And then select this one and just bring them closer so that your section looks a bit neater. Then if we now go to the floor plans, you can now see that the grids have now emerged. Okay. So if you run into such a scenario, that's how you get to correct it. Okay, so now that we are together up to that point and we have the grades at every level, we can now proceed in the columns. All right. So I want us to start at the top of foundation. So if I was to go to the let me see. Okay, so we have this level 10, or what I would call the top of foundation. And this refers to the level that lies on the top level of the foundations. Okay, so we will rename this. We're going to rename this top of foundation. Okay, rename this top of foundation and then click outside. All right, and then we are going to create the structural plan again here. So to create a structural plan for this elevation, what you need to do is go to the view tab, plan views, and then generate the structural plan. But I want you guys to look at something. You can notice that this elevation here, this symbol here, has been highlighted in blue or some other color if you're using a different background. All right. So you can see this one is gray and this one is blue. Okay, so what is happening here is Revit is trying to communicate with you. Okay, so Revit has ways in which it communicates with you as you do your work. So at this point, what Revit is trying to tell you is that for the ground floor, you've already created a structural plan for it. And then for the top of foundation, it is grayed out because you do not have a structural plan for it. Okay, so I want you to look at the ground floor. If I was to delete this structural plan from here, if I was to delete it, uh, okay, so it did not change because we had already generated it. But if you were to remove it entirely, or if you were to create a new level here for the ground floor, it would also appear as gray. So for the top of foundation, if we go to the plan views and then structural plans, and then we generate the ground floor and the top of foundation again. I'm generating the ground floor because I deleted it. So I'm going to click on OK. If I generate the top of foundation and go now to the elevation views, you're going to notice that this has now been highlighted in blue. Okay. So I hope you saw that. So let me generate the ground floor because I deleted mine. So we go to plan views, structural plan. Please remember you're going to structural plan, not the floor plan, structural plan. And then I just uncheck this, select the ground floor, and then click on OK. And now I have it here. Okay. Now I want us to start. I want us to start modeling the structure itself. Okay. So let me close some of the views that I'm not using. Okay. So let's do that. Let me see where my DWG is. So I want to use this file as the guide of where I'm going to be placing my columns. All right. So, but before we get to place columns, we said earlier that uh, for you to model in Revit, we use families to build up our structure. And families are reusable 3D components that we use as building blocks for our models. Okay, so if you are to look at this model we have here, it is made up of different families. It is made up of beams, it is made up of shear walls, it is made up of slabs, foundations, the hollow pot slab. They are all families in Revit. Okay, so to make our work easier, what Revit did is that it comes with these predetermined families that we only make a few edits to so that we can use them to model. All right, and for our case here, we have 4 columns that you're going to be using. So I want us to create these cross sections in Revit so that what you're going to be doing next is just to model them. Okay, so to work with columns, all you need to do is go to the structural tab. All right. Since we are doing a structural model, to model columns, you go to the structural tab, and then you are going to click on structural column. All right. And then once you click on structural column, you're going to notice that the contextual ribbon changes. You're going to notice that the contextual ribbon changes. And then in the top ribbon, you can notice that we have modify properties, clipboard geometry, etc. So this is the same across Revit or across all other commands. So this should not like worry you. Our main interest will be in this part here. All right. So this part here where you can see my cursor, we have a few commands. We have the load family. We have vertical columns, slanted columns, at grids, at columns, at tag on placement, and then our other interest will be in the properties panel. Okay, so let's do this. Let's have a brief tour, or let's get to test out what all these items do. Okay, so we said one, Revit. For Revit, for you to model in Revit, you need to use families. Okay, so if you do not have the families that you require to build up your model, this load family is where you come and load them. All right. And then in the placement, this refers to how your columns can be placed. One, they can be placed vertically, two, slanted. Okay, so you're going to be doing ours vertically, and I'm going to ask you to ensure that you can place that this has been highlighted. All right, and then you can also place them slanted. So if they're slanting vertically or along a vertical axis, you can be able to do that. And then these are automatic under multiple. These are automatic ways of modeling columns. And these would work in small and simple projects where you have grids equally spaced out, or where you are working with a project that has architectural columns. So you can just use this function here to place structural columns in place of those architectural columns. Okay, so we are going to test this out. So I'm going to go to properties, and then we are going to see what properties does, what we do here, and then we are going to test this out. Okay, so if you go to properties, you can see this concrete rectangular column, 300 by 450. So this is a predetermined, or it's a default family or family type that comes with Revit. Okay, so I want you to have a really good look at this. So if you want to create your own, if you want to access other families, you click on this drop down. Okay, so to access other column families, you click on this drop down. So these families that you see here, these are the default families that come with the structural templates that we are using. Okay, so if for any particular reason these families are not sufficient, say you want a different family for the universal columns or for the rectangular columns, say you want a square column, how do you get that into your template? So you load it. So to load a column family, you go to load family, all right? And then you click on this drop down and then go to libraries, click on English, just as we did for the templates, and then click on Australia and scroll down until you find structural columns. All right. So structural columns will always be inside the structural column folder here. Left click, and then you can select the families that you want to load. So if you want to load a precast concrete family, you can do it from here. If you want to load a steel family, you can do it from here. If you want a wooden family, you can also do that from here. All right, so I'm just going to cancel that since what we have here is sufficient. And this is one of the important things of choosing the correct template. So if you have the correct template, you will, in most scenarios, you're not going to need to load a family. Okay. Then, so our main interest will be in the concrete rectangular columns since this is an RC structure. So we're going to be using concrete. Then I want you to look at the PDF file. We said we have four cross sections. I have a C200 by 500, then 300 by 500, column 3, 300 by 300, and column 4, 400 by 400 mm. Okay, so how do you get to model this or create these cross sections? So if you go to this part here and look at these concrete rectangular columns, you're going to see that we only have three families or three cross sections. We only have the 3 and 600 by 750. And this is insufficient for us. It does not have what we need. So to create the sections themselves, it's really easy. All you need to do is select any of these concrete rectangular columns, just select any of them and then click on edit type. And then once you click on edit type, this type properties manager or pop-up will come up. So once it comes up, it gives you the opportunity to make edits to this family. Okay. So something that I'm going to tell you about Revit is that whenever you want to make changes to a family in Revit, the most important thing that you're going to do first is duplicate it. So this creates a duplicate and don't mess the settings of the original family. So this will come in handy in case you make an error as you make the edits. It will ensure you have an original family to go back since you will not have messed up with your properties. So we are going to rename this. So to rename this, we're going to call this column 1. Say, I just type column 1 and then enter the dimensions 200, then followed by X and then 500 mm and click on OK. So up to there, we've only changed the name. We've not changed the dimensions. So to change the dimensions, I want you to scroll down under type parameters, scroll to dimensions, then left click on the breadth B, left click here where you have 300, and then delete or backspace and type 200. Then do the same for H, type 500, click on apply and OK. And then you have the family that you need. Okay, so I hope you can see that there. So I'm going to repeat that so that we just to reinforce what we have learned. So our main interest in today's class is to model columns and beams. All right. So for us to model the columns, you're going to be using the column tool or function in the structural tab. So what you need to do is go to structure and then click on column, left click on column. And then once you left click on column, you're going to notice the structural ribbon or the contextual ribbon changes. So once it changes, we now have the opportunity to change the properties of the column that you want to model. So the first thing that you're going to be doing on most cases, or in most cases, is to create the cross sections and the families that you need. All right. So for example, for now you've created the column 1. We are remaining with column 2, column 3, and column 4. Okay. If we go to Revit, click on that drop down and then try to select those sections here, you're going to see that we have a few sections that are missing. So how do we get to create those particular cross sections? It's going to be really easy. All you need to do is select any of these sections here. Just select any of them, click on this, left click on them. And then once you do that, you go to edit type. All right. And then once you go to edit type, the first thing that you're going to do before you make any changes to the family is click on duplicates. All right. And then after you click on duplicates, we are now going to need to give it a name. So we are going to be creating the family for column 2. So I'm going to type column 2, and then the dimensions will be 300 by 500 mm, and then click on OK. All right. And then after you do that, remember we've only changed the name. You need to change the breadth or the dimensions. So for the breadth, I change this to 300. And then for the height or for the depth of the column, we are going to change this to 500 mm. And then click on apply and OK. And now if you go to the properties, you're going to see that you have that particular cross section. Okay, so let's repeat that one more time. I will repeat that one more time. So we want to model columns, and now we are cognizant with the fact that we do not have all the cross sections that we need. So how do we proceed from there? So the first step would be to create the cross sections that we need so that we can model them. Okay. So to do that, all you need to do is go to the structural tab and then go to columns. Left click on columns. And then after you do that, I want you to click on this drop down and ensure that you are working with a concrete rectangular column. Okay. So if you want to create a column cross section, all you need to do is select any of these families here. Select any of them and then go to edit type. Okay. And then under edit type, the first thing that you're going to be doing in the type properties is click on duplicate and provide a name for the column that you want to create. So we are now doing column 3. I'm going to change the name to column 3, and then provide the dimensions. So we always provide the dimensions so that it is in the name so that it's easier for you to identify the columns. All right. So as you are working, you don't have to go probably measure them, click them to see what family is used. If you just name them, it will be easier for you to observe, to know which column has been modeled at a certain place. So it is good practice to provide the dimensions in the name. So just have the name column 3 and then 300 by 300 mm and click on OK. And then after you do that, I want you to remember at this point we have only changed, all right? We've only changed the type name. So we need to change the dimensions as well. So for the breadth, I want you to change this to 300. And then for the height, 300 as well. Then click on apply and OK. Okay, then you can click on escape. So it's not necessary to escape. Okay, then let's do that one more time. Column, I think first thing, duplicate. And then after I duplicate, click on change the name. So we are working with column 4 now. Column 4, 400 by 400. And then you can delete these two. And then change the dimensions to 400, 400, and then click on apply and OK. Okay, so are we good up to there? Did you get that? Someone please confirm that we are
Yes,
together.
yeah,
Super,
together.
super, thank you. So we are going to proceed now to model the columns. So the first step was to create the sections that we need. So the second step will now be to model the columns themselves. Okay. So remember, we are using this as a guide to place our columns. So for example, you can see if I zoom in along the whole of grid 12 and grid 13, we only have one column section. We only have column 1, okay? And then here we have column 2, and also some columns 3 here, and then column 2. This should also be column 2, but I think she made the wrong judgment here. So we are going to be making some corrections to this as well, right? So let's do that. So how do we do this? How do we model the columns? Again, you go to the Revit software, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to use the I want you to use the CAD file as a guide on where we place the columns, also while referring to this PDF. Okay. So something you may have noticed if you've worked on a structural project before is that sometimes the architect will specify they want all their columns hidden or they want their columns to align with certain walls. So that's why we have our CAD file open at this point. Okay, so how do we model our columns? So we're going to start with column one. We go to structural tab, all right, and then left click on column. Then we click on this drop down to select the column cross section that we need. So we want to start with column one, so we're going to select column one. But before we place it, let's talk about two things here. So we have these options here to draw. First, ensure the placement is vertical. And then just click on the vertical column here. And then I want us to talk about these two options, column at grids and at columns. So these are automatic ways of drawing columns. Say you're working with a project that has, that doesn't have a lot of grids, that is really, really easy. You can use this. Just place columns at all sections where the grids intersect. Okay, so you just select at the grids and then ensure you highlight all the grids. And then if you zoom in, you're going to notice that columns have been placed at all grid intersections. So if you're working on a bungalow, probably a small mansionette, or a, 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 a structure with I don't know how to say this, but with rooms that are not okay, that are not as complex as the one we have here. You can use that. Okay. And then for the column at columns, it is going to place the columns where we have architectural columns. So this would come in handy if you are using a Revit architectural model to build up your structural model. But for us, we are going to do this manually. So again, to model the columns, what you're going to do for us, what we are going to do is go to structures, to the structures tab, and then left click on column. Click on this drop down to select the column that we want to use. So select the cross section that we created, and then place it here. Okay. But before we do that, I want to bring something to your attention. I want you to look at this panel here where we have modify place structural column, rotate after placement, depth, ground, and room bounding. Someone confirm that you can see that. Uh,
Yep, I can see that.
Someone? Mnaweza iona?
Naweza iona.
Okay. So this is what I want you to focus on. So the first part, the modifies then line place structural column. It guides you or it tells you what you are doing or the activity that you are carrying out in Revit. So it's telling you that you are either modifying a column or you are pressing a structural column. And then the rotate after placement. This is a tool to allow you or to help you rotate a column after you've placed it. And then in the third one, we have the depth. So these are placement options. You can place a column either by depth or by height. Okay. So I need you to concentrate on this. If you place a column by depth on Revit, this is what is going to happen. So if you place a column by depth, it is going to be placed from the level you are working on going downwards. Okay, so if you place it by depth and you are working on the ground floor, the column will be modeled from the ground floor going to the top of foundation. Okay, but if you model it by height, it is going to be modeled from the ground floor going to the first floor. So it is going to be modeled upwards. Yeah, so I need you to take note of that. So let's see how that looks. So if we model by depth at this point, at this went to this in the first floor. Okay. So I placed a column by depth in the first floor. You can now see in the north elevation that this column has been modeled from the first floor going to the ground floor. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same. We are working in the first floor. I will model another column. Okay. At this end. And this time I'm going to place it by, sorry, column, ensure it's vertical. And then this time I'm going to model it by height. And as you model by height, I want you to take note of what happens. If we go to the north floor, you can now see that it has been modeled from the first floor going to the second floor. The other one was modeled from the first floor going to the ground floor. So this is what I want us to do. I want us to model these columns going upwards. Okay, so we are going to use the heights. So I'll just delete these two so that we can now start modeling them better. So to model the columns, we said you go to the structural tab, click on column, and then select the cross-section that you want to use. So for now, we are using column 1, and then ensure the placement is vertical column. And then in these options bar here, I want you to select place the column by height, and then I want you to lock it to the second floor. So we are using the first floor to model, and then we are going to copy these columns to the other floors. Okay, so let's do that. I will start with this section over here. I'm going to place a column at this intersection. And then after I place it there, I can either proceed to place this column at other intersections where we have the columns as guided by this PDF. Okay. Or I could pause, click on escape, and then copy it. Okay. So I want you to see something here before I proceed. As I said earlier, sometimes the architect might want you to hide your structural elements. So when it is possible to hide them, such as this scenario here, where the column can fit within the wall's cross-section, you can move this column to ensure that it flashes with this exterior side of the wall. Okay, so doing that, all you need to do is type AL, which stands for align. You can type AL, and then you select the line that you want it to flash with or to move to, and then you select the face that you want to move. And after you do that, it is going to be moved to that particular point. Okay, so let's model other columns. To model a column, you go to the structural tab, column, select the correct cross-section, and then place it where you need it. Okay, so for us, we are using this as a reference. So you are going here and then here. So you can place them. You can place multiple columns at a time. Okay. You can place multiple columns at a time. Okay. So you can continue to place them, but I want to show you something else. So to place these columns again, I want these columns to align with this edge of the wall to ensure that they are flashing. So to do that, I'm typing AL. I am typing AL and then selecting this outer edge of the beam and then selecting this face of the column that I want it to align with. And then I will do that. I will do the same here. All right. So again, let's do that again. You type AL, okay? Type AL, select the edge of the wall that you want the column to move to, and then select the face of the column that is going to move. So we want this edge to move to this line that we selected. So just select it and you're good. Okay. Then the other thing is that you can do this multiple times. So just type AL for align, select the wall that you want your columns to flash with, and then check multiple, and then select the faces of the columns that you want to move. And after you do that, they move. Okay. So I wanted to post there so that we can now use another different method to place these columns. So the easiest way, after you've placed one or two, the easiest way to place these columns is by copying them. So you can select a column, say this one here, and then copy it by the center. So you could copy it by where the grids intersect and continue to place them just to make your work a bit easier. Okay. So this is a really efficient way of placing them. Okay. Okay. So you can do this for all the sections where we have these particular columns required. And remember, we are using these this as our guide. Okay. So you can see I've placed them where we need them. Okay. So I hope you saw that. Let me zoom in and see if I've missed a few. So we are all good. We are all good at this point. Okay, so we are going to model the second set of columns. So we need to place this column 2 at this section here. So we need a column 2 here, column 2 here, a column 2 here, and a column 2 here. Okay, so let's place them. You go to Revit, and then you go to structure, and then select column. And then the first thing that you're going to do is ensure that the column you select is the correct cross-section. So for now, we are interested in doing column 2. And then before you place it on the grid, please ensure the placement is vertical. And then in the options bar over here, ensure you're modeling by height, and you've constrained it to the second floor. Okay. Then after you do that, just place it. The grids intersect. And then after you place it where the grids intersect, select that particular column, and then you can rotate it. Okay, so you can select it and then rotate it. So to rotate it, just select this grid here, and then select it, then click on rotate. Or I'm clicking on copy, sorry. Select the column, click on rotate here. You can see it has this icon here to show that it's rotate. Left click on it, select your column, and rotate it. I don't know, that's weird. Okay, so select the column itself, click on rotate, change it to center so that it clocks to the center. The other one was clocking to some weird point here. So select it, rotate, ensure that it's under center, and click on this grid and this grid to ensure that you rotate it by 90 degrees. Alternatively, you can just type 90 while in the rotate command and press enter. And after you do that, your column is going to be rotated by 90 degrees. So that is one way of rotating columns. The other way of rotating columns is going to the structure tab. And then this time as you place your column, ensure you have checked this rotate after placement. So ensure it has been checked, and then place your column. And then after you place it, Revit will not allow you to escape the column command without specifying the angle that you want it rotated by. So I just want you to place your cursor on this grid and then type 90 and press enter. And after you do that, the column is going to be placed in a rotated manner. Okay. And then after you do that, it's important to ensure that the column has been placed correctly. So if you zoom in, you're going to notice that this column goes into the staircase space, which is an ideal. So we are going to use the align tool that we used earlier to move its face so that it flashes with this particular wall. Okay. So to do that, you type AL, Please take note of that. You type AL, and then you select the reference or the wall where you want your column to move to. So we want our column to flush with this wall. We select this edge of the wall, and then we select the face of the column that we want to move to that particular wall. And then you click on that, and then you're good, and press escape. I do the same on this outer edge. Type AL, select this particular edge of the wall or beam, and then select your column and move it there. Super. So after you have that, it's now easier to do these other columns since we can copy this. So just select it, click on copy, and copy them to these other parts. So you can copy them there, or if you wish, you can also model it there. So we also said we need a column 2 here. So where was that? It was here. We need it here. So I can just place it arbitrarily, and then type AL to ensure that it aligns with this particular wall detail there. And after you do that, you are good to continue. So have a look at the PDF, see what column is next. We have column 4 here, column 4 here, and column 4 here, column 4 here. But we also have 2 column 3s here. So let's start with them. So we go to Revit. Let me see where these column 3s are at. We have one along K and one along N. Okay. So I'll go to Revit where I have K. I think here it's J. And then let's see here and one here. Okay, so let's place them. So to place them, you go to the structural tab, click on column, and then now select column 3, 300 by 300. All right. And then we are going to place it here. And then I'm also going to place it here. Okay. And then after you do that, the next step would be to align them with the edges of the beams. So just click on align. I select this outer edge. And then do that, press escape. Do the same here, click on align. I think this one is good, does not need any alignment from us. Okay, so now let's do the column 4s on this other end. So we're going to go to structure, add structure, and then column. And then for the column 3, the column 4, we know it's going to be here based on the PDF we are using. So it is along this grid C. Okay. So we should have a cantilever. We should have this lever here, and our column will be at this intersection here. Okay. So go into Revit. So meaning that if this column is here, our column should be about here. So engineer, I hope you can see that we missed a grid here. Okay. We missed a grid here, but no worries. You can always copy or create another one. So let's place a grid here just to make it easier. Select the grid and copy it from this point. Let me see. We can place it first arbitrarily, just along that wall, and then select the grid and use the move tool. So I'm selecting the grid, going to the contextual ribbon and using move. And then you can, once you have move here, you can type snap to midpoint. I hope you can remember snap to midpoint, and then place it there. Okay. So again, we are saying to move it, select it, go to move, select the intersection between these two, and then type SM, and then left click to place it along the center line of that wall. Okay. And then once it is there, you go to structure, column, select the right cross section, column 4, and place it. Okay, then you also have another one here, and you can place it there. So we have the same thing in this other end. So you can notice you do not have a grid here. Again, to place the grid is really easy. Just select one of the grids close to it, use the copy tool, okay, and copy it from that particular point to the inside of that column. And then, as we said earlier, placing the columns, they should be done along the center of the walls, the beams, the columns, etc. This grid is within the center of this column, or it runs along the midpoint of this beam here. What we need to do is just select the grid itself, then click on move here, and then move it along this line where they intersect. So as you move, you're going to have that triangle. If that triangle does not appear, type SM and then left click, and then it will be moved to the center point. And then after you have that, you can select this particular column and opt to copy it to that particular point where it's required. Okay, place it there and there and here also. So I want to show you another cool trick with working with Revit. So you don't always have to go to the structural tab to ensure that the correct cross sections have been used. Say you want to work with column 4 first, and then you notice that the columns here have a different cross section. So you don't need to change the cross section at this point. You can just proceed to copy these columns. Just copy them to where they are required. Okay. Just copy them to where they are required. And then once you copy them, you can always select them, select the 2 columns, and then go to the drop down and change them to column 3. And if you do that, Revit is smart enough to change the column models for you. Okay, so we have done that, and now I want us to proceed to do the rest. Okay. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do is copy these columns to this other end. So we can tell from the 4 here and a column 4 here, column 4 here and column 4 here. So instead of us having to model these columns from scratch, we can just select these four column 4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, and copy them from this point here to this other point. Okay, now we can do that. Okay, so let's do that just to make our work a bit easier. So I'll just select them. Okay, I'll just select them, those column 4s. And then after I select them, something I should say, I'm clicking on the first one, then I'm using Control key, pressing on Control, continue selecting the rest. Okay, press Control so that you can select multiple options. And then after they are all selected, I want you to click on copy here, and then just copy them by their center, and place them where these grids intersect. And then you can click on OK, and you're good to go. All right, so let's continue modeling. This should be now easier for us. So again, we have column 2 here, column 2 here, column 2, column 2, column 2. Okay, so let's model those columns. Okay, so how do you model them? We go to model columns. We said you go to the structural tab, select column, and then in the properties panel, all you need to do is select the cross section that you need. So for now, we want column 2. Okay, and then after select column 2, what you need to do now is place them where you did them. Okay, but before you place them, we say that you should check these options over here and ensure that you have the correct settings. Okay, And then you can check also the rotate after placement so that you can rotate it immediately after placing it. So place it, and then if the rotate after placement is on, you can just rotate it by 90 degrees. Okay. We'll do the same demonstration here. Select it and then rotate it by 90 degrees. And then after that, you can use the align tool to place it there. Okay, so we have that. So I hope you can see how relatively easy that was. Let me see. So we have a column 2 here and another one here, just after the staircase. So I'm going to select this particular column and copy it from this point here and copy it to this particular point there. Okay, and then do the same up to this edge there. All right, and then I will always check and ensure that I align them both so that they are okay. Okay, and then at this point I can select this one and also copy them using this face here and copy them there, and then click on escape. So after you do that, you'll notice that you have modeled most of the columns. So yeah, that's good. So I want us to do something else to model these columns. I want to introduce you to a new tool that you probably used before. So this is the mirror tool. So instead of us going and manually drawing these columns or placing these columns in this section here, we can mirror them and they will go to these sections where we need them, right? So first, before we do that, we need to create a mirror line. And since this structure is symmetrical, can be symmetrical about a certain point between grid 1, let's use between grid 2 and grade where we have this other wall, grid 14, we can create a mirror line that is equidistant from both grids and then use that mirror line or that line to copy these columns to this other section. All right. You can also place them manually, but I think this method is just easy when the structure is symmetrical. Okay. So to do that, you're going to go to the insert, or not in the insert, you're going to go to annotate, and then you're going to select detail line. And then once you select detail line, just select a line and draw a line just arbitrarily anywhere between those two grids. Okay. Draw a line arbitrarily anywhere between those two grids and extend it outwards. And then after you do that, I want you to go to the dimension tool, the aligned dimension tool. You can access it either here in the quick access toolbar, or you can also access it here in the dimension panel. So I want you to select the aligned dimension. Click on this second grid from the bottom, grid 14, where this wall is, okay? Click on it, and then left click on this line that you just drew, okay? And then click on the similar grid on the top part, and then click outside, okay? And then after you do that, I want you to zoom in and left click on that equal symbol, and then press escape. And then after you do that, I want you to highlight these columns here in this section. So just left click and then drag your cursor, highlighting all these columns. So do this from left to right. Come close to this column, left click, and then drag your mouse towards the right. Okay. And then once the columns have been highlighted, it means they have been selected. And then go to mirror pick axis, and then left click on the line that you just did. Okay. And if you do that, you're going to notice that our columns have been placed appropriately as they have been done in this section. All you need to do is go to view and then click on this house or heart symbol. And then you can see the 3D view of your columns. Okay. You can change this to shaded the graphics display option. You can change it to shaded, or you can also change it to textures or realistic so that you can have a better look of how your columns have been made. Okay, so I'll allow you guys to take a breather, and then we're going to proceed to the next part of copying these columns to the other floors. Okay, you can also have a look at them in the section view and see how they have been placed. So is there any other question up to that point?
Yes.
Anyone? Aros? That's
Okay. I think I have a question, not for this one, but it's just for the work that I did before,
yeah,
because I will use the same thing to work now later on
yes,
after I've gone through all this. So there
yeah,
was when I was doing the views with the north, south, and east and west.
yeah.
I moved some of those what do you call it now? Kama macho hii yenye inaonyesha. So I moved
So
it, and at some point I lost part of my, if you look at the one that I
uh,
sent, you will have a look
yeah,
and you'll notice that I lost some part of my work. I couldn't see it.
uh, kwa model gani, the CAD linked ama PDF linked? Some, some, some. Could you please confirm? Uh, Sharon?
So anyway, as you look for that, I don't know how best that can be. Is there a way you can undo all that and put it properly? Because as I was trying to explore, I realized that I lost some part of it. I couldn't see it, but
Okay,
actually I did everything else correctly.
no worries. We can always find a solution. I wanted to confirm ni hii kwa hii CAD link project, ndio? So I'll just assume it is here. Neat. Ange, can you confirm that you have it here? I think I can see all the elevations. Some I have the drawing open. Am I audible? Samuel, I think I can see all the views from the PDF or from the file that you shared. So I just wanted you to confirm which views aren't visible so that we can try and obtain them. So if you can hear me, please let me know which views are missing from your side so that I can help you locate them. Okay. Please confirm that you can hear me and that uh, you still have the views missing in your file. Ezekiel, Sharon, can you hear me?
Yep, you can hear you well.
Mm, I'm not sure if we lost Samuel.
I was lost a bit, sorry, but I'm back.
Yeah, so I'm trying to look for the view that is missing so that you can locate it. But from my end, I can see you have all of them.
Oh, okay.
So,
So I think I worked until I found myself having an elevation 6B. I don't know how I found myself in that.
yeah. Okay. Shall know how you did this. Probably just a duplicate, but no worries. You can always delete the unwanted one. Okay, you can just right click on it and then click on delete.
Okay, anyway, I was just concerned about, you see, I pulled some
About
bit of, yeah, and filled.
about missing these points.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, if you lose any of these elevations, you can
Mm.
just go to view and then elevation, and then you can place an elevation somewhere. Okay. So if it's the
Okay.
one from this side that is missing, you can place it there using that option.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. No worries. So I'll proceed. So let me go back. So we now have these columns placed in this section over here, and we would like to copy them to the other floors. All right, we have them modeled at the first floor, so you can see they are floating. They are only at the first floor, and we don't want to spend our energy remodeling them at every floor. Okay, so how do we do that to make our work a bit easy? So there are two ways in which you can copy them. So I'm going to show you both of them. The first one is going to an elevation view. Okay, so you can go to an elevation view such as the one we have here in North, and then highlight all the columns. All right, so highlight them from left to right. Ensure this rectangle that is being drawn covers all the columns, or they all fit inside there. Okay, so highlight them, and then after you highlight them, use the copy tool. Okay, so click on copy, and then uh, use a point where you can see the grids properly. Select the first point, and then first uncheck constraint, and then click on the second one. And then you'll have your columns modeled for that level. And then something that I should highlight is that if you select all the columns in a section view, if I was to select columns in the first floor here and select it that way, it is going to select all the columns in this level through the entire model. All right. If I went to the 3D view, you're going to notice that all columns in the first floor have been selected. All right. And then just to check, just to reinforce that, once you have them selected, click on copy and check constraint so that you can move upwards and then copy them. So select a point where you have, like this one, where you have a grid that is easily visible, and left click there, move your cursor and check constraint, move your cursor upwards, and then click on that other intersection. And you have your columns copied to that particular point. Okay. So that's an easy way of doing it. Then there's another method There's another method of copying this. So this second method, I really like using it for the beams, but so you can also use it for the columns. So this method goes like this. You select these columns here, all right? And then you go to the clipboard panel, left click on copy, and then you now have the option to paste, all right? So you can paste them to aligned levels, okay? So for this one, you select the higher level, okay? So we are in the third floor. We're going to select the fourth floor, fifth floor, and the roof level, okay? So you select the fourth floor, press Control, select the fifth floor, and then with Control still pressed in, select the roof level, and then click on OK. And then after you do that, you're going to have all the columns modeled up to the roof level. Okay, so we have that. And then the other thing is we would like to have the columns that will go from the top of foundation to the ground floor, or the columns that will be connecting our ground floor to the foundations. So again, that is really easy. We just select these particular columns here, just highlight them, and ensure that these are only the columns in the ground floor have been highlighted. And then click on copy and check constraint, and then copy them from this point to this point. Okay. Sorry, that was wrong. Undo. Select all these columns here. Okay. Click on copy and uncheck constraint and copy them from here to this point there. Okay. And then you have them created. Then you'll notice something, they go beyond the top of foundation, and we'd like for these columns to end at the top of foundation. So how do we correct that? So again, you just select them from left to right, highlight. I hope you can see that rectangle. I hope you note how it is being, how I'm constraining it, just to select the columns that I want. Once they have been highlighted, go to the properties. For the base level, ensure it's at top of foundation. Change the base offset to 0, and then top level to ground floor, and ensure the top offset is 0. Then click on apply, and you are good to go. You can notice now they are correctly placed. Okay, so that's how easy it is to model those particular columns in Revit. All right, so I hope you are together up to that point. So I'll proceed to model the shear walls at this point, since it's also really easy and it follows the same workflow. All right. To model the shear walls, we are going to do it now in the ground floor, or not, let's do it in the first floor where we have our CAD file. Okay. Let's do it in the first floor where we have our CAD file, and then we are going to copy them to the other floors as we did for the other elements. All right. So let's place them. So I hope you can see where we have these particular shear walls here, the 4 of them. That's where we are going to model those shear walls at. So to model shear walls, we are going to go to the Structures tab. I hope you are now taking note of something. Whenever we want to model a structural element, the first place you are going is the Structural tab. And then from the Structural tab, you're going to select Wall, and ensure you select the Structural Wall. So left click on Structural Wall, then go to Edit Type. Then we said the first thing that we always do here is duplicate it. So for this one, we could call it the lift core. Okay, lift core walls. So lift core walls, and then click on OK. And then we are going to be using a wall of a width of 200 mm. But if for any reason you may want to change the thickness, probably to 250 or 300 in your future projects, here is where you do it. You click on edit, and then once you click on edit, you change the thickness from here, and then you click on OK. All right, so that's how you change the thickness. But for this one, let's stick with 300. with 200. And before we place them, it has the same constraints as the columns have. All right. So again, you're going to model it by height. And then we are going to constrain it to the second floor. Okay. Since we are working in the first floor, we are going to constrain this to the second floor. And then for the location of the wall center line, it refers to this line you're drawing as you place your column. All right. If it's the center, if the location line is center line, it means the line that you are drawing is at the center of that particular wall. Okay. Then if you change it to something like finish face exterior, it means that the wall, the line that you are drawing is the exterior face of the wall. Okay. So if you change it to something else, say interior, and place it this way, it means that this also it's at the exterior face of your of your of your wall. All right. So I want us to stick to using wall center line, since we said our grids will be the center line of our elements. And then select wall center line, ensure chain is on. So chain allows you to do this as you model them. It allows you to just click and continue. Okay. If I was to uncheck chain, I can only model one wall at a time. So if I was to model this wall here, it would seem as if I have escaped, and then I would have to click there again and here again, which can be really tiresome if you are working with a lot of walls or a lot of beams. All right, so now we have our walls created. If we went to the 3D view, you can see our walls there. Can you see them? I hope you can see them. You have your walls there. All right, so we have our walls there, but if you look at them, there is something that is missing. I hope you can see that we do not have the wall opening that allows the users to go into the lift core. All right, so since it's going to be housing the lift, we need to have an opening to ensure that people can access the lift. Okay, so we are going to place that wall, that opening first, and then we are going to copy all these elements to the other floors. Okay, so how do we do that? To do that, you are going to ensure you are one in the structural tab, and then we have an opening panel over here. All right, so we have multiple openings, and this time we are going to focus on wall opening. So it creates our opening along the vertical along our wall. Is opening, and then I want you to click on the wall that you want the opening to be. So if you look at this point, this wall has been highlighted, meaning this opening will be formed in this wall. All right, so I'm going to left click and place it there. And then after I select the wall, I want you to look at my cursor. If you look at my cursor closely, you're going to notice of that, it has a rectangular polygon to its bottom right. And this allows you now to make the opening. Okay, so I want to repeat that. So to create the opening, you go to the structural tab, and then you go to wall over here, wall opening. And then the first thing after you do the wall opening is select the wall that you want to create your opening for. So let's create this opening. So we select the wall first, and then after you select the wall, you're going to notice that your cursor now has the rectangular polygon, and now you can place the opening there. So you can just place it arbitrarily. Say we want an opening of about 1500 mm, so we can just place it first. Okay. Select the opening, and then type the distance here. So we could have 1500 and then press enter, and you are good to go. All right. And then the other thing that you may want is to ensure that this opening has been placed in a, has been placed in a manner that makes sense. Say it should be at the center of this particular wall. So you can see at this point, it is line one side more. All right. So to change this, all we need to do is place dimensions. So to align it to the center of the wall, all we need to do is place the is to place dimensions first. So place dimensions and then click outside. Okay. And then let's do a simple calculation. For it to be at the center of the wall, it means that it should be, we have 521 plus 339, which equals 860. If we divide that by 2, it's going to be 430 mm. So it means that this face of the wall, where this wall will be ending, should be 430 mm from this particular face of the wall. Okay, so just select your wall, your opening. Once you select it, select the face of your opening, that small rectangle. And then after you do that, you're going to notice that these two dimensions become highlighted. So you can make this change to any of them. Just zoom in, left click on one of them, and type the distance for 30 and press enter. And now you can see it has been made to be equidistant from both inner wall faces. And then since this is no longer necessary, we can delete it or let it stay there. Okay, so let me just delete it. And then we are good. Okay, now we have that wall and we have these opening here. So what do we do next? We are going to select them. So first thing that I'm going to do, I'm just going to highlight this entire area, and you're going to notice it selects my walls and the opening. So just highlight it, draw a small rectangle or square over these walls, and then paste, and then now copy it clipboard using this function here, and then go to paste, align to selected levels. And then we said you are selecting the higher levels. So if you are in the first floor, so I want you not to select the second floor. I want you to select the third floor, okay? The fourth floor, fifth floor, and the roof level, okay? So roof level, you can also select the parapet level and then click on OK. Don't select the third, the second floor. I will explain why. Okay, so you can see that we are now good. We have now modeled all the walls that we need. Okay, let me see something. So we have that there. Okay. Then the other thing that we need to do is now to copy this to the other sections. Okay. So for this one, we can use the method we used earlier. We can just highlight this small section here where we have walls and use copy. So we can uncheck constraint and copy them to this point here. Oh, why is that happening?
I think while you were moving it, you take the first floor while you were supposed not to take the first floor. So there's double in
Oh,
first. Yeah.
okay. Thank you for that, engineer. So let me do that again. You can do it. You can do it in an elevation view. I think it's easier to do it in an elevation view. Okay. Let me see one is visible. Say, for example, in the north, and then you can highlight this entire area over here. Okay. And then go to copy to clipboard and then paste. Align levels. And then let's see, second floor. Select the second floor, third floor, fourth floor, roof level, and parapet. And then click on OK. And then they have been modeled properly. So we don't need it in the parapet level, actually. We can just delete it here. And we are good to go. So I want us to copy these ones again to the ground floor. So we can select it. You can use the method that I used earlier, or you can also use this method that we also used earlier and model it to these other parts here, okay? And then once you do this to this other part here, we are going to do two things here. First, we are going to select this and then ensure it ends at the top of foundation, okay? So to do this, just select it and then change the base offset to 0, okay? And ensure the top constraint is at top of foundation and the top constraint is at a ground floor. And then you are good to go, okay? And then since this is in the foundation level, we do not need this opening at this point. So we can delete it and we'll be good to go, okay? Since this is at the foundation level, we do not need the opening, okay? And then if you went to your 3D view, you can now see that we have all our vertical members modeled. Okay, so that is that, and that's how easy it is to model the columns and the shear walls. Okay, so I don't want to bombard you with a lot of information, so I'll ask if I can continue to model the beams. If that is okay with you, we can do that, but if this is also sufficient, so that you have sufficient time to work on it, we can leave it at that. So what do you guys think?
How much time do you think it will take us to do the beams?
Probably 30, less than 30 minutes.
Then we better do it. I don't know
Okay.
about Ezekiel, but we're still up to the task.
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay. So I will proceed. So to do this, again, to model the beams, we are going to be working in the first floor again. All right. So I will go to the first floor. I'm using again these as my guide. You can see the sections we have. We have 4 sections. We have the beam 200 by 500, the beam 200 by 450, and then we have the beam 200 by 800, and I think those are 3, and that's all we have. So let's do that. So similarly to what we did for the columns, we are going to do for the beams. So the first thing that you're going to do is go to the structures tab and then select beam, okay? And then at this point, you're going to click on this drop down, and you're going to notice under the concrete rectangular beams, we do not have the families or the cross sections that we need, okay? So we are going to start with creating the cross sections themselves, okay? So we are going to click on any of these, the beam 300 by 600 rectangular beam, click on any of them, and then click on edit type, okay? Then the first thing that you're going to do is duplicate it and provide it with a name. Beam 1, 200 by 450 mm, and then click on OK. So up to that point, all we have done is change the type name. So we want to change the dimensions as well. So we scroll down to where we have the breadth, the width, 200, and then change the height or depth to 450. And then click on apply and OK. And you're good to go. Okay. So I'm going to proceed to create the rest. You go to beam, click on this edit type, and then duplicate first. So after you duplicate, you change the name to beam 2, and then this will be 500 mm, and then click on OK. Then change the depth to 500, and then click on apply and OK. All right. Then the next thing will be to create the others. So again, similar process, beam. Ensure you've selected a concrete rectangular beam, okay? Then click on edit type, duplicate it. This will be beam 3, 200 by 600, and then change that, and then change the dimension to what you need. Apply and okay. And then we're going to repeat that again. This time 800. Click on apply. Sorry, I forgot something. I forgot to duplicate. So click on edit type, duplicate, change this to beam 4, 200 by 800 mm, and then click on OK. Change the depth to 800, apply, and OK. And now we are good to model the beams. So we said the rule of thumb when you're modeling the beams is first, it is going to go over the walls, all right? And then the other one is that you model beams over wall openings. Okay, so I want us to model the beams. If you look at the PDF we shared, we have the 200 by 500 here and the 200 by 500 here, right? And then we have a 200 by 600, 200 by 800, 200 by 500. Okay, so you can let me show you how to change through the cross sections, and then I'll show you a trick to help you model faster. Say we want to model the 200 by 500. So we are going to model it from the center of this column to this grid intersection, okay? Then as you model the beams, please change the visual style to shaded so that you can see the beams clearly. Change the visual style to shaded. And then as you model them, just say we have the 200 by 500 there. And then at this point, we have the 200 by 600. So I'll go to the properties tab, change this to 200 by 600 and place it here, okay? And then at this section, we have 800 by 200 by 800. So again, I place it there and then press escape. And then now come here and model the 200 by 800 and place it there. Again, here we have 200 by 500 from here to these points. Okay, it's just that I've done this a couple of times. I have the dimensions probably in my head, so I know where they are. So you confirm using this PDF and place them. Okay, so placing them is easy. Just draw them on the areas where you need them or where they have been placed. Place the correct cross section. So here we have 200 by 500. Okay. Also here, I'll continue placing them and also do the same here. Okay. So I want you to take note of that. I want you to see how that I think that could take a lot of time if you were to change all the dimensions every time. And I want you to compare that to this, okay? So in this one, I'm not going to be changing the cross section. I'm going to model all the beams at once. And then after I model all the beams at once, I am going to change the cross sections later. So this is what we do. You go to beams. I will work with any cross section. Let me use the 200 by 500. And then I will draw the beams everywhere. So I'll check chain. And then everywhere there is a column, I'll just place the beam, okay? So here and there. So this one ends there. And then we have other beams here. So from this column to this column here, to this column here, to this column here, okay? And then from this column there, let me start with the vertical one. So from here to here, and then following this wall here to this point here, okay? And then another one here, okay? And then another one here, another one there, another one here, then sorry, from this point there, okay. Just to make my work easier, I'm using the same cross section everywhere. So, okay. And so this column was modeled wrongly. So I just need to align it a little bit. So once I have it aligned, I can continue to place my beams. Okay, so from this section here to this section here, and then I have a cantilever here, so I can place it there. Okay, so you can see that took a shorter time than initially going through every going through every point changing the the beam section. Say like we did the first part where we would model a beam section. Say we have 800 here, then 200, then we change it back. That would take a lot of time. So this is what I usually do. First, I model all my beams using one cross section. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I model all my beams using one cross section. And then after I do that, after I do that, now I go through my model, changing the cross sections to what I need. So for example, at this point here, I know that it's a 200 by 800. So what I need you to do is just select this beam and change it to 200 by 800. Okay. And then do the same here. Go to the PDF. You have a 200 by 800 here. Okay. You can read through where you have different cross sections and change that to 200 by 800. And then after you do that, you are good. If here you are using a 200 by 600, you can be able to change it from that particular part. Okay, so that's how easy it is to do the beams. So I'm going to replicate the same thing in the other end. So I'm just going to use the beam group here and join my members. Okay, please do this while referring to the PDF so that you model the beams where they are required. And then there. Okay. And then here the shear wall, don't draw the beam through the entire shear wall, just end it at this section here, press escape, and then continue from this other end. And then click on this point there, at this point here, and end it here. Okay, and then do the same here. With there, don't need a beam over the staircase, then here, and here, and you're good to go. So I'll just model those two beams, those few beams, and then I'll expect you to model all the other beams. Okay. I'll expect you to model all the beams that are required in that particular, as shown by that particular PDF, so that you can have a very clean detail. All right. And then at this point, we have this beam here. We also have a beam joining here and another one joining here in this column. Okay, then after you model your beams, please take a look at the PDF and then look at the areas where you need different cross sections. Say, for example, here we need a 200 by 800, or 200 by 800 here. 200 by 800, 200 by 800, and you are good to go. So if you need to change the cross sections, all you need to do is select the beams that you need different cross sections, select them. Okay. Once you select them, go to the properties tab and then select the 200 by 800. And after you do that, Revit automatically updates that. All right. And then after you've modeled all the beams, this is what I want you to do. I want you to select everything in this view. Just select everything. And then after you've selected everything, I want you to use the filter tool. Use the filter tool to filter out everything that is unnecessary. So you're only interested in the structural framing. So I will check none first. And then I will check structural framing. So select the first structural framing, girder, the second one, joist, and then the third one, other. Select both the three structural framing. Select the three of them, click on apply, and okay. And you're going to notice all your beams are going to be selected. And then after you do that, I want you to go to copy to clipboard, then paste, aligned to selected levels, and copy this to other floors. So we have the second floor, click second floor, third floor, fourth floor, fifth floor, and roof level. And then click on OK. Give Revit a moment. And then after you do that, you're going to notice you will have modeled your beams and columns and the shear walls. So it's that easy to replicate them to other floors. Okay. So yeah, I'd like to end the session at this point. And then just a few. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, can
Yes.
hear you.
Okay, so I'd like to adjourn the meeting at this point. I want to take a break. I have another session at 4 p.m. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. It's okay. That was a very good session. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. So please work on the milestones.
Yeah. And see what we can do.
I did not hear you, Ezekiel.
I'm saying thank you for the day. We'll just follow up the recording and then we'll try to catch up with what you've done.
Okay, so in case you run into any difficulties, please remember to share them in the group so that I can get back to you. Okay, thank you for watching and see you in the next class.
All right. Have a good day. Bye.
You too.
One more time, Katimu, one more.
Yes? Yeah?
Okay. When do you agree on the next class and
Yeah.
or we'll use the group for that?
No, we can all agree at this point. What
Yeah,
time
because we are all
works?
here.
Yeah.
Okay, we
So
are
please,
just trying to see if we can do classes on Monday and Thursday.
yeah. Yeah.
That will give us enough time to work on this milestone and be ready by the
That's
time the class is ready.
all right. So Monday and Thursday.
And we do on Monday from 8. That's to give us enough time. Not pressure like today. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Monday and Thursday from 8 p.m. your time, all
Monday
right?
is 8 p.m., but on Thursday is 7. Will that work with you or just stick with 7 on Monday?
Okay. And then on Saturday, could we have a 1 hour session just to go over what we covered during the week? Or
Yeah, we can do it
That's-
on Saturday.
that's
Saturday
okay.
will be okay.
If 1 hour, it's
Yeah.
okay.
1 hour, just a revision session. Is that okay?
That's
I think
okay.
that will be okay.
Super. So
Then what do we
Saturday,
put it 7 or what do you think?
pardon?
Saturday we can put it at is it 8 o'clock? What was it? 7? I think we'll just tell you what to do on the Saturday. We'll just agree and tell you what's the Saturday one.
Okay, but for the classes that we have at 8 p.m., we have to be strict with 8 p.m. because they have another session at 4 p.m. Okay, at what time? At 11 p.m. your time.
Okay, we'll try and see. Even if we get something earlier, we can tell you to push it a bit 30 minutes early. So that will be helping sometimes, yeah.
I think with that we can move forward. So thank you and have a good night.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.